Welcome everybody to another episode of Latin Explaining. My name is Denise Gonzalez. For those who do not know me, for those who do, guys, you know how we do it here. I hope you have already liked this video, and also if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel. I see that Sundown and Jose are already starting up in the chat. Welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning in from the beginning. I hope that you guys have had an amazing Monday. It's rainy here in Los Angeles where I'm at. So, it was a great Monday, but at the same time, it was an opportunity to make money. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said before, for the ones that are coming in or the ones watching in the replay, thank you very much for tuning in and allowing me into your homes and devices. Now, I want to start today's show, but before we do so, I want to remind you guys that yesterday we had another episode of No Bullshit, and it was lit. It was about social media equals social awkwardness. So if you haven't had the opportunity to go watch our opinions and what does this mean and what is it about, especially now when we're seeing times when people are over the top obnoxious and unbearable on social media simply because they can disconnect, it's time for you to go check that video so that you can help yourself when encountering these weirdos. Now, you guys know how we do it here. Let's get this show started.
To the next level.
Well, guys, okay. Yesterday, you guys know exactly why I went live and actually discussed some breaking news on developing story. I see that Robert Lee said, wow, we were just discussing this. Yeah, definitely. If you want to know our take on this, me and All Aboard did an extensive video yesterday on social media and the weirdos and why they exist and what to do when facing them. So make sure you go to No Bullshit. Also, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel. Okay. We just launched not too long ago, just a few weeks. And we will love to have you there as much as I love to have you here. And it's nothing about business. It's more about, pop culture, things that are happening, our opinion on different things, socioeconomics and whatnot. So make sure you go to No Bullshit and subscribe. Now, guys, I want to move to the news as I was explaining today. You guys know we have been covering very closely what has been happening in Cuba as much as we have been following what's happening in Puerto Rico. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. You guys know that today was a massive protest was scheduled for today. People and celebrities like PJ Sinzuela in Puerto Rico, Eliezer Molina, and among others, decided to invoke permanent protest that's going to stay until the beach is left alone, basically. So today was a massive confrontation. I'm going to post it on my Instagram. I'm not going to continue talking about it here simply because yesterday we spoke for hours about the situation. But today there was a clash between the riot. It was like a semi-small riot over there with the police and the protesters. So make sure, you follow me on Instagram. And, I will be posting more on this later today. I know I'm not as my usual schedule. I'm thinking even of making different schedules because I'm having other opportunities right now that, bring me a little bit more money. And you guys know making more money is always better. So definitely I might be moving this show to 6 p.m. as original time when it started. So if you guys... I'm thinking between 5 and 6 I know a lot of people watch me from the East Coast and Puerto Rico and also Saudi Arabia. And I know, the schedule is wonky. So you guys let me know either in the comment section or on the chat or even email me if you think 5 or 6 is better for you guys. And I will be more than happy to take which one you guys decide because you guys are the ones that are watching me. Now, I want to move into a little bit more in what's happening with Cubans. Uh, Today, it started very early March in Washington, D.C., because unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of things happening. And I'm going to expand on the march in Washington, D.C. a little bit later. But I want to go to the news today with the president of Mexico, AMLO. He made some declarations today, and I wanted to play for you guys
Van
so
a
you guys can
salir dos
hear.
barcos de la Armada de México con oxígeno y alimentos, medicinas. Y yo pienso que el presidente Biden debe tomar una decisión al respecto. Es un llamado respetuoso, desde ningún punto de vista injerencista, pero hay que separar lo político de lo humanitario. La vida es lo más importante, es el principal de los derechos humanos, el derecho a la vida. Podrían hacerse muchas cosas. Solo sugiero una, con todo respeto para las dos naciones.
So you guys heard basically what AMLO was saying. Basically, he was talking to President Joe Biden to actually put aside his political differences with Cuban president and the Cuban government and allow his shipment from Mexico and Veracruz, Mexico, to actually land in Cuba so that they can provide the aid that Cubans need. I want to say to you guys, isn't this awesome that AMLO is doing this? Like, isn't it great that we have one person at least in Latin America that is part of the ruling class that is actually making these demands? I don't know if you guys feel some sort of hope, but it did make me feel hopeful a little bit because this is not something we see every day. We've seen the constant silence from Latin America for 63 years when it comes to Cuba. And I know there's many people that have spoke about stuff and whatnot, but we have never seen a president, actually basically confront directly the president of the United States. And he basically said it, I'm saying it with respect for both countries and both presidents and both governments. But, life is the most important thing of above everything else. So we have to separate politics from humanitarian causes and life. So the fact that somebody has to be the grown up in this situation actually makes me feel better. When I will go to sleep today, I will go to sleep happier. And let me remind you guys, this just happened today. Okay, so we're going to see eventually the response of Joe Biden, but also in real time. There's also something happening regarding this when Cubans mobilized to Washington, D.C. to actually make the same demand. And what I said with AMLO that gave me a lot of hope is the fact that we have both actually doing like a double whammy. We have the people that usually do this by themselves, and now they have the backup of another government official from a country in Latin America. And let's not forget, this is one of the most notorious countries in Latin America. If you don't know what Mexicans are, there's something wrong with you. Now, I'm going to share basically what's happening with President Biden in Washington, D.C. So you guys basically saw this is happening, like I said, in real time. We have thousands and thousands of Cubans and people that wanted to support them actually in front of the White House demanding freedom from the United States. And I'm not going to get too excited, but this is very exciting because if you have not been in touch with Caribbean islands, especially Cuba, you know for a fact that in our lifetime, in our parents' lifetime, you know, this whole Cuba under siege has been an ongoing thing. Okay, so if this actually happens, this will mark a historical time. It's not a surprise to me, like I said, that we have thousands of people in front of the White House as we speak right now, demanding freedom from this whole blockage that has been placed on Cuba. And we also have AMLO having some actual cojones and sending aid to Cuba. So like I said, I commend the Mexican president for doing this. You know, this is what we need technically in Latin America. This is precisely why, you know, I constantly call out my detractors and the people that oppose what I say. AMLO is doing it, y'all. What you gonna tell him? You know? It's not just me, you know, we have to start helping each other and make our own help because the American Saudi is not coming to save us. We have to make this stuff happen for ourselves. So definitely, guys, you know, I'm very excited that this is happening. Like I said, I'm very excited that, you know, it took, you know, a president that actually has a brain to actually make this happen and send the help that was needed. In the meantime, we have the morons in my beautiful island, Puerto Rico, and unfortunately, you know, we have Governor Pierluisi on vacation, not paying attention to what's happening, and a lot of people are sending help, but the help is being sent back. So, you know, like I said, it's very comforting and it makes us feel very hopeful to see that we still have competent government officials, you know, when it comes to situations that just make a lot of sense, like Jose will say. So definitely, you know, I'm very excited for this. I will keep you guys posted. Let's not forget, you know, our commitment to continue with the hashtag SOS Cuba, and also to send aid as much as we can to support our Cuban brothers and sisters. Now, guys, I want to move briefly, because I said I was not going to go deeply into it, but I want to move briefly into what's happening in real time in Puerto Rico. Like I told you guys at the beginning, there is a permanent protest going on that is not going to cease or be removed from Playa Los Almendros in Rincon, Puerto Rico, simply because the construction has paused, but it has somehow has the permission to continue. So definitely, I'm going to show you guys some images of the clash today between the Fuerza de Choque and the protesters.
Ahí sacaron las macanas.
Que los empujen para que caigan encima de la parrilla. Sí, se bodan. So you guys saw basically that's what's going on. And like I said, they're going to stay there day and night. Nobody's going anywhere. People are taking shifts, but everybody is showing up. And I wanted to remind you guys that initially there was only 15 people protesting this. Today it was in the hundreds, and to the point where the police had to be completely mobilized to that area. And there was a lot of other things happening in the metropolitan area of Puerto Rico simply because I was not aware that, the police force, we pay them to actually preserve and protect private assets. But unfortunately, that's the reality for us and many Americans as well, and many other people around the world. Our governments do not serve us. We serve the government, unfortunately, which is why, I encourage people to become the owners of their own destiny, their own money, their own finances, and be more stable so that these things, even though they might affect us for a little bit, we have some backup plan and some cushion to actually fall on. Now, guys, those has been the news for today, and let's just keep it moving. Guys, the main topic. Today, the topic is going to be a little bit light, but I know some people, as usual, will get sensitive. So, like I always say, if I ruffle your feathers the wrong way, feel free to leave a nasty comment in the comment section because I really do not care. Oh my God. But if you actually enjoy what I'm talking about, just stay tuned and we're going to talk about it. Today, we're going to talk about one thing that has been praised as long as I've been alive, and many of us, and that is our attachment to our parents. We live in a society right now where, especially in our community, our parents play a very important role in many decisions we make, from our career path to our education to our job selection, how the way we're groomed, the way we know about money, and a lot of other things, and also the people we marry. But today on Latin Explaining, the topic is, and I'm going to tell you, it's time to divorce from your parents. Okay? It's time to serve our parents with the divorce papers, because as soon as you hit 18 years old, you are an adult. So definitely, guys, that is the topic for today. And like I said, to the people that want to leave the nasty comments, keep them coming. I love you guys because you make me feel even more loved and important. You're thinking of me. I'm occupying some space in your life rent free. So don't be shy. Drop your nasty comment and I will give you a heart. Now, one thing I would say is, one of the things that mostly, as Latinos, I have noticed lately, analyzing a lot of the things that influence us when it comes to business and our career path, is how much influence our parents have at the time of that selection. And it brings me back to the time when I was young and I made a career choice that my parents did not like. And you guys know that I always, always, always talk about things here that have influenced my life financially and, as a career as well. And, mistakes I have made so that you don't have to make them. And one of the things that I wanted to say is, many of you guys know that my career path was law, and I dropped out of that to pursue a career as a sound engineer. And that was not the career my parents wanted for me at the time. So of course that caused a lot of friction. It wasn't until later on, that they have seen me for almost a decade now, on my own, doing my own thing, that they actually now say, hey, you know what, you were right. We just couldn't see that, at the moment, because obviously they didn't had my vision. Now I see that more people are coming in. Please make sure you like, dislike, comment on this video, because it doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me grow. So make sure while we continue to enjoy the show and I continue to give you guys my energy, that you like this video. I'm very glad that you are all here. Now, continuing on this whole thing, one of the things that I would say is, when it comes to our career path, only what do you want to do, what really is your passion. And one of the things, either if you're a parent right now and your kids are, I don't know, teens, or you still have infants and whatnot, I would say don't get too attached to what they tell you they want to be when they grow up, because that changes. Okay. As a matter of fact, I see that Goddess in Training says, I can definitely relate to you on that, Denise. Yeah, definitely. Jose Negron says, my mother played a major role in my upbringing, but she allowed me to make my choices. That is how it's supposed to be. One thing that I would say with people, especially parents, if your teenager tells you, this is what I want to do, you have to. I know I'm not a parent, so don't come for me, but I'm speaking as a daughter, okay? So I still have a dog in the fight. But I would say, no matter how crazy your kids, career path is, I would recommend for parents to, instead of just freaking out, why we don't ask our teenage kids questions and ask them for a plan. Because if they're able to you're supposed to be their first pitch. You're supposed to be the first person that they pitch their future to. And that is the role of a parent. It's not to decide for the child. It's not for you to decide what they're going to do. So now going back to the daughters or sons aspect of the whole thing, one of the main things what I will say is time to divorce from our parents is because many of us, and the majority of us, are not wealthy. We were not raised in wealth. And if you were, more power to you, but I'm talking to the ones who are not. And even if you're in wealth, come on now. We all know that even though you hate the Cheeto, his dad did an amazing job with him, cutting him off, from his $1 billion industry and empire, and letting him on his own. And look at, hello, he became the president. Regardless if you like him or not, that is what rich parents do to you. Now, Lord Hokage says, because most teenagers are lost and they have no clue what they want to do. Yeah, definitely, they are lost. But the thing is, like, you're supposed to guide them, not tell them what to do. They're supposed to question themselves. There is something about critical thinking that it has to be taught at home. And while I dissect this whole time to divorce your parents topic, that's one of the things that I wanted to bring on. But let me continue with the whole money situation. Poor parents can only take you so far. They can only tell you what worked for them and what helped them survive. So definitely, there's only so much they can actually teach you. You have to take advice from where it comes from. You have to look at your parents' results and analyze and accept, they push me a little bit forward, but I know that's not where I'm trying to stay. And if you're not trying to stay at the level your parents were, then you have to go look for the mentors in your life and the guidance that you need from people that you admire. So it's definitely time to, in that aspect alone, divorce your parents. Now, unfortunately, in in our community, we have this notion of friendship with our parents now, that they decide to become too attached to us, and almost it feels like they're living through us. And I'm not talking about when they advise you to do certain things, uh you know because of course their advice is needed, and you take it or you leave it, and you uphold the consequences of whatnot of whatever comes. But at the same time, you know why have we become forced friends with our parents? Our parents are not supposed to be our friends. That is the first thing I'm going to put out there. I love my parents to death. I will give my life for them, even though I know they won't allow me to, because they want me to live my life, but they are not my friends. They'll still tell me the things I don't want to hear, and they still tell me the things that they believe in as a norm, because that's what parents are supposed to be there. I see that Lord Hokage says the most successful communities are Asian and Indian. In those families, they do what their parents tell them what to do. Yeah, that is true, but that also brings me to, question that logic, because Asians and Indians have the highest suicide rates in the world. So that's not necessarily the most productive way to handle things, because if you think about it, the most profitable community in the world, aside from Asians, without the suicide rates, it's white people, and they don't do that to their children. They actually teach them ways on how to make money, and of course, it's obviously political and whatnot. So I don't necessarily think parents should have a lot of say in what we do. Your life is yours. And we have found, unfortunately, a lot of people that stay too long in your parents telling you what to do, that the lives that you lead eventually as a result of that is a life of anxiety, fear, blockage, and it hinders your success. How many people we have seen that grown so attached to their parents that eventually they end up living with their parents and never leaving the house, and becoming this weirdo, or being too dependent on them and not being able to make decisions, or crack under a lot of pressure, simply because their parents never let them experience the world and actually make the choices and teach them how to fail. One of the things that, especially parents with a poor mindset, will never teach their kids is how to fail, simply because they are scared of failure as well. So it all sums up to the same thing that I would say. There is a book that I started with my Audible. You guys know that I love to read, and also now with Audible it's even easier. No, I'm not sponsored by Audible, but if you don't have it and you love to hear somebody reading to you, honey, Audible is lit. So definitely, you guys want to check it out. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki was that? Yeah, I think it's Kiyosaki. You guys know I'm not Asian. I'm not gonna fight too much with that notion. But basically, he explains basically the lessons that you're supposed to teach your child so that they can think on their own and actually make money. And one of the first things that he says that rich parents pass on to the kids, because that's what has given them success, and it's the difference between poor parents, is that they teach you to learn to listen. And this is one of the things that how many times we have encountered, not only on social media, but in our real life, people that you can look at them dead in the face, tell them something, and they understand something completely different. That is the problem that we have when your parents did not taught you there is power in listening to comprehend. Because in life you're supposed to equip yourself, and the more you equip yourself with knowledge, the more avenues you will open for yourself. There is a saying that I read like a long time ago that says that rich parents teach their children that knowledge is more valuable than money in the long run. And the reason why they do this is because poor parents will teach you how to get a job and how to focus on that and make a lot of money through that avenue. But in reality, that is not an avenue for success. Rich parents actually teach you that knowledge and getting a little bit of knowledge from a lot of things that are different topics opens doors for you. So money is not as valuable as knowledge because you can go broke tomorrow. But there's, like I always say, the same water that hardens an egg softens a potato. There were people that lost everything in the Great Depression, but if you look at it, there's also a lot of people that profited from it. The company Modelo Cerveza is one of them. So at the end of the day, you have to be able to have vast knowledge in different things because you have to be able to open yourself some doors. And that is one of the lessons that poor parents will never teach you. And this is another reason why we have to let them go in that aspect and embark in your own journey. Another thing, the second lesson that he taught was pay yourself first. One of the things that we have, seen with a lot of people that embark in entrepreneurship and businesses and corporate America and whatnot, or start their own stuff, is that they don't assign themselves a salary. They either don't pay themselves at all, or they overpay themselves with things that they acquire. They're most of the times depreciating assets. Okay, so definitely that's one lesson that rich parents pass on to their kids, especially when they're starting this, so that you actually level up the margin between risk and benefit. So the third lesson that rich parents teach their kids is buy luxury last and not first. This goes back to what I was just saying. A lot of people that start their business, especially with parents that have a poor mindset, is that they will teach you, wait, when you make it, when you get this stuff, when you get signed, or when you would do this, or when you do that, you're gonna have a mansion, you're gonna buy me a mansion, your auntie a mansion, and this and that, and buy all these things. And these things are depreciating assets. Okay. And you don't know if your kids are going to actually be able to sustain that for at least 10 years. Something that my dad told me, and like I've always said, my dad has a business of 34 years. He started at 27 years old. Is that, if you don't have, first of all, if you don't have 3 times the amount of something that is going to be a depreciating asset, like a vehicle, do not purchase it, because you're going to end up having to invest in that depreciating asset more than you would take from it, because it's not an active, it doesn't make you money. So definitely leave luxury for last and not at the beginning when you're just actually, lifting up. The fourth lesson that rich parents teach their children is to reduce the expenses and liabilities. This, again, one is connected to the other. Reducing the expenses is something we spoke about with the minimalism. If you need something, then acquire it. But if you just want it, it's time to pass on that. And also the liabilities being, for example, a vehicle, like I said, that's a depreciating asset. And also real estate. Real estate, we've seen it with the real estate burst that happened, in 2008, 2009. And a lot of people made more money by walking away from their homes than actually staying in them. So definitely you have to minimize your liabilities and where you're overspending money, that you actually could potentially jeopardize your financial position. So that is something that rich parents guide their kids into it, that I believe poor parents or parents with a poor mindset do not do it. Now, the fifth lesson is aim for more valuable assets. This is connected again to number 4, and it's something that, how can I explain it? I'm sorry that I'm going to have to go there, but the things that parents with a poor mindset that do not have a good experience with money management often miss is that they do not know what's a valuable asset. They do not know what actually brings in more money or brings in more value, adds more value to your financial portfolio. Therefore, they can never guide you in this area. You have to be able to aim for things that will make you money. Like, instead of just, for example, you're in the lookout for your new, in your first home, instead of just buying a single family home, why you don't buy a condo or something that has, or a duplex or something like that, that you can actually rent and live either rent free, or something that has 4 units, and actually you don't even have to pay a mortgage and whatnot. And that is more of a valuable asset, because eventually you will pay that off. And there's a lot of other things and taxes that you can deduct. Actually, you get, I believe it's a 27% of depreciating asset discount on your taxes, something like that. Somebody correct me on the percentage. I don't have it at hand right now, but you can write off a lot of this stuff and actually don't even have to worry about that bill monthly. Now, the sixth lesson is be in control over your emotions. This is something that I have spoke about here a lot, and a lot of people, especially the people that always like to come for me, because they don't listen to comprehend. They don't know the first lesson is that you have to control your mindset first. That is the number one thing that will actually take you further or mess you up completely. And you have to be able to shake this guilt that you feel from walking away from your parents and opening your wings, and in the meantime creating that space so you don't make mistakes. Also, another problem with the emotions that we have, especially during this process of severing those ties, is that we go into instant gratification, and we decide to do some spending or overspending, or actually making investments based on emotions, on how we feel. And I've said it many times, the problem with our society is that we're focused on a lot of feelings, and those feelings almost never will go align with reality or actual results. So that's another lesson that rich parents teach their children that poor parents don't. The number 7 lesson is work to learn and don't work to earn. Again, another very valuable lesson, because how many times have I said here, the copy paste system? You have to be able to analyze, other companies that you work for. If you want to start that, let's say, for example, you don't go to college, but you work in a department store, for example, and you say, you know what, I like the interaction, I like the chemistry, I would like to make some kind of money this way. I'm going to learn the whole structure of the company, and I'm going to start myself. You learn the risks that come with that business, you learn the benefits, you learn how to minimize them, you see their structure, and you replicate that. And actually, you don't focus necessarily on your income, but you're focusing on actually learning and actually earning more money through that avenue. The number 8 lesson is you become what you study. Read a lot. This is one thing that I would say, my parents did taught me, is at least I was supposed to read 10 books in a year. And that is something that we don't see poor parents or parents with a poor mindset instructing their kids into that. And it's not just the reading, it's what they are reading. A lot of parents often focus on letting their kids do homework, focus on their kids doing this and that, and hoping that the system will teach them about money and finances and responsibilizing the teachers for teaching them this, when in reality they are supposed to guide their children, because this society and the system has taught poor parents that the system is responsible for them. And I love what Jersey Red said regarding this. She said education also opened doors in our society. Our education system only prepares people to be obedient workers. You have to know how to finesse the education system in order to try to rise up. And that is absolutely true. Our education system is going to teach you how to work in society, know how to succeed and come up and actually be up another level or go up the ladder, because they're training you to be a worker. And that is when people in high school, that we start pressuring our kids, oh, go to college, go, what college you're going to go, what you're going to do this, do that, your letter of recommendations, your GPA and whatnot. So definitely, our society has train us and indoctrinate our children to actually be workers. That is why we have to understand our parents did not catch up on this reality, and unfortunately they could not teach us these things. So definitely, it's time to pick up financial books. It's time to actually pick up books of stuff that you want to become. It's time for us to start reading about our economics, our stock market, our entrepreneurial journeys. It's time for us to learn how to, start things from ground zero and start picking up those books, because the more you read, the more you become knowledgeable, the more secure you feel to actually go out there with the proper information and actually execute. The number 9 lesson that rich parents teach their children is to reinvest excess cash generated by assets. And that is something that our parents do not teach you. Poor parents teach you how to save. Rich parents teach you how to invest, because money in the bank is not money. Money in the bank does not generate you money. It doesn't do anything for you. So rich parents understand that. And what they do is that they teach their children how to actually invest the excess of what they do, that they just have lingering around, that it will most likely go into savings. They teach their children how to invest, how to assess risk, which it goes back to what I was saying. It's starting for us to learn about the stock market and read about it and start investing rather than saving. And the last lesson that is touched on the Rich Dad Poor Dad book is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. This goes back to what I said about the mentorship. If I know that the majority of the people that listen to me are from ages 18 to 34, and those are key ages. And if you're doubting yourself, whether you like my persona or not, now is the time to separate me from what I'm saying to you. It's time for you to actually understand something. Your parents did not taught you something, and that is okay. But your reality today is that you don't know these things. So I need you to separate the way you feel and your emotions to the side for a little bit. Put it in the back seat and actually go look for the mentors. Look around you and look at the people that you want to become. Look at the people you admire and start aiming for that people to become your mentors. That is the people you want to emulate. So why not ask them that have the results you want for what you want? It makes absolutely no sense to ask your parents that have no knowledge, and it's almost even unfair to ask your parents at this point because they don't have that knowledge. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to go out there and get your mentors, is to go out there and seek the people that inspire you and go ask them for a mentorship. Just tell them, you know what, let me mirror you for a week. Let me see what you do, how you do it. Teach me this, and that. Ask them questions. Who knows? You might even end up networking with people that can further you up. And network is everything, not only on my field, but in every field. Network is everything. Okay. So That's basically the list of things that I want to say. And one last thing that I want to say to this community that I have here on my channel is, I'm going to say it, and if it doesn't apply, just let it fly, right? But you have to understand something. You're an adult, and your parents are not an emergency fund. So part of divorcing from your parents is also letting them enjoy their retirement or their last years financially in peace. Okay, the same way we're not retirement funds for our parents, they are not emergency funds for us. It's okay to ask them in a time of need when you're tight for guidance or for something that you want to borrow. Make sure you pay it back. But at the same time, how many times do you really want to do that? Don't you want to test yourself and say, hey, let's see if I can do it come what may? That is the beauty of life. That is the beauty of failure. So definitely, guys, it's time to divorce our parents. It's time to break free. Like I said before, there's a lot of things that they cannot teach you. Their knowledge is limited. They do not know it. Otherwise, you would have been a rich kid or a kid raised in wealth. So definitely don't go where you're not trying to go. We've seen now in the Olympics, runners, you don't see them looking at the people sitting over there watching them. You don't see them looking at the cameras. You don't see them looking back. They look towards the goal where they're trying to go. And that is exactly what we're trying to do. And that also includes our parents. And I know in the Latino community, we're supposed to be very close-knit with our parents, but in reality, they don't need to tell you what to do. If you know what you're going to do, set up a plan, minimize the risk on that plan, look for mentors, and execute. It's time for us to put in some action in the stuff we want to do. Otherwise, we will be 40 and penniless. Now, guys, you might disagree with me. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to let people in. I'm going to share the link so you guys can join in if you desire to. If you think I don't know what I'm talking about, if you disagree, if you agree, you're more than welcome to actually join me. Before I let people in, you guys know I always go into intermission. I'm going to take a few minutes and I'll see you guys in a few. Now it's time to actually go grab your snacks, grab the stuff that, you want to drink or eat and whatnot. And I will see you guys in a few minutes. It's 6:47 where I'm at. I will be back at 6:52. So make sure, like I said, you grab your snacks, you take your little bathroom break and whatnot, and I will be back. But before, I want to remind you to follow me on Instagram, denise.gonzalez.villegas1, so that you can keep up with everything that I'm doing, with thoughts, funny stuff, and also things that are happening in Latin America, in our Latin diaspora, because sometimes I don't have the time to actually make a show for everything that happens. And there's a lot of things that happen in our countries and here in the US. Also, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't done so, and like this video specifically. Okay, so I will see you guys in a few minutes, guys. And when I come back, let's have the conversation popping.
What I mean when I see, what I see, what I feel, when I dream, when I be, I'm a freak. What up? Oh, what up? Everybody look at me when I'm free, when I feel what I see, when I do it, I'm a freak. What up? Oh, what up? Say what we got, it's hot to spot, give up the drop, see what we got, do what, do what. We got to go, the body flow, too hot to show, the front row, we won't stop. Hey! What I mean when I see, what I see, what I feel, when I dream, when I be, I'm a freak. What up? Oh, what up? Hey!
be on the grind, no flex, no shining. Fuck it, flying, soaring, driving. Lit shit, nearly up the rocket, top and down. I was falling from the back, I was fucking with the shit. I be on my grind, no flex, no shining. Go ahead, baby, finna pull up right beside him. They call me Sicky, I was never one for hiding. And if the weekend kicking in on Monday, I'll be riding. Fuck it, flying, soaring, driving. Zip skid, I'ma slow, I keep on flying. Lit shit, nearly up the rocket, top and down. I was falling from the back, I was fucking on the side. On the boat, kids got the hood waves in the ocean, cause the motion finna scary it up. Waiting for a while on them, now it's time to hurry up. Stress applying pressure, but I'm never one to broke them up. Sheet them up, and then they ask them what's going on, telling them every go. Ice up, very cold, ice cup. Liquid courage one doesn't look like I need that to go. Hell no, but you can cool her off with half a bag of show. Half a dope, ricochet and carry blows. Think I need assistance, take a peek through my parachute. The bottom looking like head on my trip, I'm feeling dip, toe and toes going. I'm the big ship, it's gonna flip them up. I be on the ground, I'm flex, I'm shining. Go ahead, baby, finna pull up right beside him. They call me Sicky, I was never one for hiding. And if the weekend kicking in on Monday, I'll be riding. Fuck it, flying, soaring, driving. Zip skid, I'ma slow, I keep on flying. Lit shit, nearly up the rocket, top and down. I was calling from the back, I was fucking on the side.
And we are back from our intermission. I hope you guys got your snacks, got your drinks, because we're going to have the conversation. Now, I'm going to introduce the infamous, the one, the only Jose Negron.
Good evening, Denise. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. Feeling very energetic. Today was a very productive day for me. I'm very happy. I'm a little late. I know, there's a lot of people that are going to have to watch me on the replay, but, it had to be done. Now, how about you, Jose? How are you doing? How's your day going? How your week started? What's going on?
Well, first of all, I'm doing fine, thank you. Actually, this is my week to work remotely. So it's like every other week, I actually work at the office. This is my week to work remotely, which it has some advantages, it has some disadvantages. Mainly, I don't have um, the person contact. So, it is what it is. You have to adjust to the situation at hand. Now, as far as the president of Mexico speaking up regarding the situation in Cuba, I'm happy to hear that. Oh my goodness! No, I do not want to become president. I don't want the headaches, and I'm not a gazillionaire. But I'm glad to hear that a national leader is speaking up regarding the situation in Cuba. Hopefully, something positive will come out of it. As far as the situation in Puerto Rico, isn't it gratifying that the police over there are masked to protect an infinity pool?
You know how it is.
I know. Now, as far as the main topic, to me, it's a little different because some people don't know both my parents are deceased. Okay. My father passed away 9 years ago, close to my birthday. And then my mother passed away last year. So most of my upbringing was done by my mother. So and I'm gonna make a confession. You know, I left the nest late in life, but I did leave the nest. Okay.
Why you consider late?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I got my own place in 2018. So
Oh well, but I mean, but you still got it.
yes. Now, as far as why you have people still living with their parents, um, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
Um, okay, first of all, now, mind you, I'm not a millennial. Okay, so I'm not gonna claim to know everything about millennials. But one thing I do know that many of the millennials, when they graduate from college, they have a huge amount of student loan debt.
Yes.
So that means they gotta stay living with their parents um, for several years, and then also take into fact if you're living in say New York City or in Los Angeles, rent is going to be very expensive unless you're living where say Armpit, Oklahoma, or Tongue Twister, North Carolina, where the cost of living is not as expensive. I
Even
mean,
Texas. Texas is cheaper.
okay,
And Nevada as well.
okay. Now, in my case, I'm an municipal employee. So those who have a bachelor's degree, the starting salary for many of them, it's about $40,000 a year. Now, people will think $40,000 a year is a lot of money. If you're living in Texas or in Oklahoma, yes. But if you're talking about, say, in New York, not really. You can forget about trying to live in Manhattan. Queens is, I mean, there are some places you could kind of afford, but the fact of the matter is, these are many factors why people still live. Some of them, they gotten so attached to their mothers. Now, I don't know if you are aware of a program called Smothered.
No, actually, I'm not.
Okay, well, it's a program um, on TLC, and what it talks about is grown adults which are so close to their parents, their mothers, that they're actually being smothered. I mean, it's like they cannot do anything without their mother's input, and that the mother must live within. And it's like, I'm sorry, I cannot live that way. Okay, like I said, I was late to get my own place. The bottom line, I did get my own place.
Yeah, that's what's important, but we have unfortunately a lot of people that when I mean divorce your parents, you can still live with your parents and do your thing until you're successful. The thing
Hmm.
is, like, a lot of people don't have a plan on, what they want to do. A lot of people are either daydreaming about what they want to do, or just, I'm the opposite of you. I left the nest very early, and I left it to go to like several trees away from the nest. Okay. I left and went 3,000 miles away and never looked back. Okay. It's been almost a decade. I'm excited to be here. But definitely, it has been a good journey. I would say, you know, for people that don't know my story, I came to California like a crazy person with only $500, and look at
Yes,
Jose, he's like, yeah, crazy.
yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm well aware of his story because remember, I did see the interview that Radical Latino did with you.
Yeah. So definitely, you guys know I had to live in South Central. I had to ride the bus. I had to walk and watch. I've been run by crackheads. All that stuff happened to me. And to be honest with you, if you will ask me today, if I would have done it again, I would have, you know, because to be honest with you, it shaped me. and it showed me that I can do it. And there's nothing better than you knowing that you can survive on your own. That's the best feeling of the world. I see that Sundown says, my parents are warriors. If I said I was going to divorce them, they will scalp me. Well, don't tell them, Sundown, just divorce. Don't serve them the papers, but have like a physical separation.
But you know something, Denise? My mother was not all that crazy about me having my own place, and it's just that I needed to have my own place. The fact of the matter is, this bird had to leave the nest, and the fact of the matter, my mother could not live forever. I mean, she did not inherit the fountain of youth. So, um, but I was fortunate that I was able to have my own place, and my mother actually visited my place. So, but my mother's in a better place, so
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing that I think you have another window open, Jose. I'm gonna meet you while I talk. But definitely, that's something that I would say is crucial to us. It's important to leave the nest because, to be honest with you, not everybody, the majority of people that stay longer don't have your life. The majority of people, that stay in the nest and stay very attached to their parents usually end up not doing anything with their lives and either inheriting their parents' property or living very bad lives, because by the time your parents pass, you will be on average in your 40s and or your 50s, and at that age you really have no energy to start nothing. So you either have to be established financially or have a plan. I'm pretty sure that you, Jose, saved for your down payment while living with your mother.
yes, I did.
Exactly.
Yes,
You
it,
see?
now, I'm using a laptop for the first time, so it's a little different.
Oh, look at you, all technologic and stuff. Oh my God, Jose just walked into the 21st century with his laptop. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, actually, the reason why I was using my phone because I had another laptop, but the problem is it's like a 5 to a 10 second delay.
Okay.
So that's the reason why, and I didn't want to confuse you and confuse everybody else.
Oh, okay, okay. No, no problem. It's great to actually have you here on your computer. I'm glad that it's premiering here on Latin Explaining. Jose's new layout with his computer. It's here on the channel.
But you know something, um, and I know I said this before. We talked about this many times.
Mhm.
But the problem is, um, your detractors cannot dispute what you're saying because ever since the Gideon, your message has been self-empowerment. Unfortunately, when people cannot dispute your information, they go personal.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's crazy, that they don't understand the art of conversation.
True.
The minute you go personal, you lost the argument because you're telling the person that you don't have anything else to say, and you just go personal just to say something instead of just being humble and say, hey, you know what, you might be right because I don't have a comeback from that, and you just proved me with facts that it was true. So a lot of people often, more often than not, it's the first lesson that I discuss here with divorcing your parents. It's something we learn from our parents, is to either disengage or actually attack the person rather than the attitude or the problem with facts,
Mhm.
and it's learn to listen.
Yes.
That is the first lesson that we do not learn from our parents, and unfortunately we are seeing the results. We have people with lack of comprehension skills. We have people that hear whatever they want to hear and just run with it. You have people that speculate rather than confirm. It's and that is not a good way to go about your life. Imagine if I was to start a business and I'm not able to listen to people to comprehend, and they would tell me something and then I will just run the business in a whole different way, and then that's not the way my investors wanted me to run it.
No.
Imagine the problem that will cause.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, and I'm just picking up now when I see the other YouTube, the people on YouTube, um, the ones that are the slow tips or the uh,
Divest
divested
steps.
tabs and the Hispano tabs. Um, the problem is they're not able to analyze logically. They're not able to accept criticism or allow free exchange of information. And that's something that's very, that I notice when you compare those individuals, and then you compare people like yourself, Christina, Truth Teacher, Radical Latino, Brotep, and All Aboard. You know what you're talking about. You provide facts, and then you allow an interchange of information.
Yeah, definitely. Because look, this topic, I know it's sensitive. A lot of people are gonna like, oh, you don't have kids. Why are you talking about? And what I'm talking about is from the perspective of children. You're fucking up your kids by being into their lives. They're supposed to make the choices they want to make because that's what you're supposed to raise them for. Raising kids is not dressing them nicely and throw birthdays. Raising kids is actually guiding an adult from its early stages to a young adulthood so that they are not afraid to actually, um, fail in life.
But
And that's when poor parents or parents with a poor mindset fail more often than not,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
But you know what's the problem is, you have different generations, so therefore you're going to have a clash as far as how people perceive information. Because my my parents were part of what's called the silent generation. Those are the people that were born from 1928 to 1945. So then you bring on the next generation, which is the baby boomers, which I'm a part of, and we were taught certain things. And then when we become parents, um, one of the things that we fail to take into account is that we have to adapt. And so, for that reason, while getting a college education might have worked out for me, it's not going to necessarily work out for the millennials because their situation is different. So the thing is, if you do if you decide not to get a college education for whatever reason, that's fine. Make sure that you get some sort of marketable job skills, so that way you can more than to survive, but be part of the middle class. Because it's no shame if you don't go to college, as long as you develop marketable job skills.
Yeah, you have to have high income skills, and a lot of people, I have shown here people that, the majority of the millionaires in America were poor people. They were born into poverty. They were not born rich people. So that should tell people that in reality, I see the Lord Hokage is here. That should teach people, that in reality, you don't have to be born rich to actually make money. And also, what you have to do is develop skills that will make you money. Now,
Hmm.
I'm gonna let Lord Hokage said his opinion on this. Welcome, Lord. What's up?
What's up? What's up? How you doing?
Good, good. What's your take on it's time to divorce our parents?
Well, I agree and disagree with you because I agree to an instance that sometimes poor parents or parents in general, we're not going to say poor or rich, we're going to say parents in general are too overly involved in their children's lives, and they don't allow their children to have a say so in their own lives and future, right?
Yeah,
However, from what I've seen from the difference between parents in different cultures,
hmm,
I believe most people will benefit listening to their parents. And I didn't always believe that. Mind you, my mother used to call me a rebel without a cause. I was always rebellious my whole life. I never really listened to my mother or anyone really. It wasn't until I went to the military, until I got structure. But when I went to college, I met different people and I saw how their culture and their lifestyle worked differently for them. Their parents guided them on a path to success. And like I was saying earlier with Asians and Indians, right? Indians are Asian, but a lot of them do exactly what their parents tell them to do, and a lot of them are successful, right? Mind you, their parents are also successful in a way, but their parents are also sometimes poor, right? And they have basically like four jobs. You can be a doctor, you can be an engineer, or you can be a lawyer. That's
yeah,
it. Like
yeah,
that is all you can do. And if you want to do anything else, then we're not paying for it, and you're basically not part of the family, right? Some parents are a little more stricter than others, but for the most part, that's what it is. And I used to not agree with it, but as I got older, I totally agree with it because a lot of children are lost. A lot of teenagers and young adults are lost. So my thing is this: what is the worst thing that could happen if you listen to your parents all the way up till you get your bachelor's degree? Right? The worst thing that could happen is that you have a decent career to fall back on when you want to go do your own thing, right? Like
hmm,
from like let's say like 1 to 12 K-12, you listen to your parents, you go to college, you listen to your parents, and then once you graduate, you have a skill that you can go into the workforce and either do that job or you can do anything else after that, right? And
hmm,
I do think it's beneficial for most people, right? Because if you really sit down and talk to the younger generation or even the generation above us, right? I'm a millennial, older millennial, but a lot of them are lost. Like I'm like, what do you want to do? I ask me all the time, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself like 5 years from now? What is your plans? Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna work this job. Or they think their job is a career. That's another thing, right? Because
yeah,
they don't know what a career is. So I do agree with you. Like you have to divorce your parents, men especially, men and young boys especially. You have to do that, right? You have to kill your mother in your mind because she will make you weak, right? Because all
yeah.
she wants you to do is be safe, right? However, I totally believe that a part of listening to your parents, right, to a degree, is truly beneficial for a lot of people.
No,
Because
no, of course, of course. I'm not saying when it comes to look, the problem is that we're comparing the two mindsets that we have out there. Only 10% at the most, 15% of the population will become above average when it comes to money and financial success. So people have to go to college, simply because they're not willing to navigate this world without a degree that will give them a skill, a high income skill that can actually generate for them financial stability. So, of course, college will be the answer for those people that don't have the discipline to wake up at 4 a.m., be about your day at 5:30, 5:45 a.m., and come back 18 hours later. Not everybody has that discipline. So if you don't have that discipline, you have to go to college, unfortunately. But most of the times, that's why I said parents need to interview their kids and actually allow them to pitch their plan to them so that they can decide what they're going to support. I don't know if that makes sense. But I'm going to let Sundown also go. Sundown, welcome. How are you?
Hey. Good, good. I just wanted to
Um,
piggyback off of.
go
Am I
ahead.
giving you feedback?
No, you're not. You're not.
Okay. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Lord Hokage said. I knew a guy, I knew an Indian guy that failed out of engineering, and he
Mhm.
said that he was looked at as the family outcast because he couldn't pass engineering school. But
Oh,
I will
wow.
say this about Indians. I will say this about Indians. The number one last name in pharmacy now is Patel, which is an Indian last name. So Indians are taking over the pharmacy industry. So if you go to like any pharmacy, you're going to see a couple of Indians in there.
Yeah, definitely,
But
definitely, because they understood what I'm saying. The parents understood what I'm saying, and if you look at their parents, either if they have the money or not, they have the rich mindset. That's why I said poor parents are poor mindset, because it doesn't matter if your parents are not necessarily wealthy or financially stable, but they learn from their mistakes, which doesn't happen often in our culture, in our country. They can actually guide you throughout, so that you can avoid their mistakes throughout life. But that is
yeah,
not the norm, unfortunately, at least in Western countries, is not the norm.
yeah, it's only here in America, man. Like if you go to Europe, like um, just education in general. I don't know how it is in Latin America. I know in Europe they don't have multiple choice. So
Yeah, in,
like
in
the
Puerto Rico you
education.
don't. In Puerto Rico, your
Oh
parents, if you don't go to college in Puerto Rico, they'll call you. Society will call you a quedado. Okay, if you don't have a college degree, hey, good luck. Go back to the
yeah,
the farming, because they will send you to farms, and you have people that actually they didn't go to college, but they know they need two jobs.
yeah.
You
Like
know.
so, one of the reasons why foreigners come over and take over like our just dominate as far as high paying jobs, because like I was saying, in these other countries you don't have multiple choice questions, or you don't have multiple choice answers. You have to know the material. It's not like here in America where everything is multiple guess. They teach you how to guess here. Over there you have to know the material, which is why they just come over and dominate everything, because they actually know the material. And
Yeah.
if I could have done anything over, it would have been take education more serious, because the worst thing you could do is be put out in the world with a minimal education,
Yeah.
because you're setting
Education and
yourself up for
knowledge.
failure.
Education and knowledge is power, and that's something that I've said here. My parents come from very humble beginnings. I was raised in a barrio, but my parents made the sacrifice to put me and my sister in like a good private school so that we could get the best education. They did not let that to chance with the public system, because they acknowledged how the public system was lacking a lot of stuff and a lot of knowledge. So they never let us do that. And they also let us manage money at a very young age. So definitely, that play a huge part when I came to a different country and started from zero. I see that Rakim is here. What's up, Rakim? I think the divest tips and the slow tips got him. Are you there, Rakim?
Oh, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here, Denise.
Hey,
Okay.
How's
yo,
everybody
Rakim,
doing on the panel?
Rakim,
Good evening.
good, good.
What's
I
Yo,
going
guess
on, Sundown? Hey, how you doing,
no,
Jose?
I was just gonna say, I think you're a mortal enemy to divestors now. They're gonna be plotting for you. You gotta watch your back. You better be looking over your shoulder
Hey,
everywhere
look,
you go.
man.
'Cause
Hey,
they have arrows with your
hey,
name, Rakim.
hey, look. I'm a strong brother. They can't hold me down for long, man. I'm standing 10 toes down.
Mhm. See, that's the reason why I call. That's the reason why I call them the intellectually and mentally challenged.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry for the humor.
Oh no, it's good. And a small level of trolling is needed. We need to learn how to. You know what? I'm gonna say something that's completely unrelated to the topic, and we'll go back to it.
Okay.
But I'm so I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I'm so tired of this society and the fact that we have removed shame as something negative. Shaming people for what they lack is supposed to be normalized. People are supposed to be ashamed of, staying in a position of failure. Simply because it's a choice. Being a failure and fail are two different things. You're supposed to fail, but you're not supposed to become a failure in everything you do. And I think the slow tips and the divest steps stay in failure, and we're supposed to shame them. They're supposed to feel uncomfortable. And we have removed that standard from our society, in my opinion. And that's what's creating even softer people.
I disagree. Shame is still in society, but the dominant culture in society is woke ideology. So if you say anything against that, you will be then shamed for those talking points, right? So maybe you're not getting shamed because maybe you may align more with the dominant like ideas in society, right? But if I go to work and I be like, yeah, I voted for Donald Trump, which I didn't, but or I believe that people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, right? It doesn't really matter if it's true or not. I'll probably get
Facts.
fired for that, right? I'll
Oh
probably get
yeah,
fired
yeah,
for
for
that
Facts.
sure.
because
A lot of us,
that's
Lord Hokage, a lot of us got shamed in 2015 and 2016 for supporting the Cheeto, myself included. A lot of people came for me. A lot of people stopped being my friend, and I'm like, I'm still going to say that was the best option. I don't care.
If I could
Yo,
touch, I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say real quick before I hop off. I was just jumping in to say that Lord Hokage.
what up.
What you're saying? What you're saying? That's facts, man. I'm just glad that I was raised to not be the guy that wanted to fit in. I'm perfect being the outsider. I don't conform to norms. I'm myself, and when you're yourself, you don't have to worry about people trying to pull you into this, people trying to pull you into this. Woke culture. I have my own culture. I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's supposed how it's supposed to be, Sundown. That's how it's supposed to be. But I see Lord Hokage's point. It's getting ridiculous. It's getting super ridiculous right now, and with the censorship and whatnot. I have a friend on Facebook that it was a good friend of mine in Puerto Rico. He also moved to the U.S. And he was complaining and he was mad because he was talking about the whole Space Jam political correctness and whatnot, and they censor him on Facebook and Twitter, and I was like, well, welcome to the club.
Can I chime in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I remember I attended one committee meeting with my union, and actually one member actually took me to task regarding the choice I made for president in 2016. And this is like 3 years after the fact. So it's like, you mean you're still that bitter regarding an election? Now, the fact of the matter is I made my choice. I stuck by my choice because I'm sorry. It's just that there was two crappy people. So I just picked the one that was less crappy. And
Just say it, Jose. Did you vote for the Cheeto?
yes, I did.
Good choice. Good choice. I am very proud of you.
Because I actually looked in Hillary Clinton's campaign and what she's done. With all due respect to all the Hillary Clinton supporters, the last time she did anything meaningful when she was first lady. So you mean to tell me someone that is politically astute as Hillary Clinton, and you don't have anything to show as far as something positive that you did for a benefit, and you want to be the president of the United States? I'm sorry. I have a huge problem with that.
Not only that, I mean, there's a lot of look, I'm going to say something. We need to stagnant government officials are never good for the country. Okay, if you have been in a position of power, either as a first lady and whatnot, and you've been there for 4, 8 years, we don't need you in that office again because you know too much. That's stupid. I don't. America is the only country that I've seen, in their territories, because that includes Puerto Rico, where people that were in office one way or the other are supposed to be elected again. We're supposed to trust them. Look at the
But
clown we have right now in the White House. Didn't wasn't he 8 years in the White House already?
okay, first of all, he was 8 years as vice president and 40 whatever years as senator.
We don't need him up there.
Okay, but you know what's the problem? Term limits in the near future that will never come. Why? Because both parties will do everything that they can to squash it. I mean, and that's the fact, and that's the sad reality. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to run in politics for any political office, you either have to be a gazillionaire or you have to sell your soul to special interest groups.
Yeah, it's
Because that's the only way that you're going to get money.
Yeah, of course. And it's like I said, everybody do not come at the Shito or anybody that takes corporate money, because at the end of the day, if you were in that position or I was in that position, everybody has a price tag. Okay, let's drop the hypocrisy. There is a number that will make you look the other way.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a
Yeah.
price tag.
Okay.
Okay, Lord Hokage is the only
I'm telling
person
you, I've
that
had my
does.
morals tested before. I've had my freedom tested before, and I do not have a price tag. I got conviction.
Uh,
That's the and people like me usually die because if you can't buy them, you got to get rid of them. So
No,
well,
no. I'm for sale. I would say that. I am. I have a price tag.
I would never get into politics, and I'm gonna and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell my soul to get an elected office. Number one. Number two, I'm like an I'm like a square peg trying to get into a circle. I mean, I am so much of an individual. The progressives will hate me because I'm too conservative. The conservatives will hate me because I'm too liberal. The liberals will hate me because I'm whatever.
Yeah, that's the limbo we're all in. And
Mhm.
it's something that my fiance says all the time. It's like we're both liberal and conservative at the same time. It's just different views.
Yeah.
And I'm so tired of this left and right stuff when we're supposed to be balanced. We're not supposed to go to one polarity or the other. It's just that simple. Now
But
I'm
you
gonna let Rakim,
Mhm.
said his piece. What do you think on today's topic? It's time to divorce our parents, Rakim.
Um, I believe that's a very good subject to speak on, Denise, because a lot of us see it's one thing that you touched on that is very important is learning outside of what your parents taught you because of the way the world operates. Unfortunately, we live in a capitalistic society that take advantage of what you don't know. So it's important to learn. That's why it's also, you got to remember, certain information is so valuable that you have to pay for. When you're consulting with the lawyer, he's not going to give you that information for free. That's information that he acquired through, years of education that he had to learn. So he's going to make sure that he capitalize off of what you don't know and charge you for information that you may need to avoid a situation that you may be
Yeah,
dealing with.
Mhm.
it's like something I posted on my Instagram the other day, because I'm fed up with people complaining about the prices of stuff that you can do in 30 minutes. Just because I did something in 30 minutes, that doesn't mean that you get to pay me for the 30 minutes. You pay me for the 10 years that it took me to do that in 30 minutes.
Right, right. And right, I definitely agree with that. And then on top of it, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is unlearning. Actually, unlearning is more of a difficult process than actual learning. So things that may have hindered you in the past that you may have learned from your parents, it's important to do your best to seek help to try to unlearn those things, those bad habits that may have keep setting you back. If you grew up in a society with poor parents that may have not been educated or dysfunctional parents, you can inherit that type of mentality, through, what your parents' actions. and you may not realize it, but that is actually hindering your growth. The conversation I had with my younger brother, where he told me he got into an argument about some type of particular thing with his fiance, and he said, "This is how I was raised. This is how I was raised on certain things." And I had to explain to him the way that we were raised is not conducive to the way that the world operates, and that's
Um,
in. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead, Jose. Sorry.
yeah, you know what? That's true. And I remember about 25 years ago when I used to work in foster care. Um, I had a situation when I have someone from the LGBTQ plus community was applying to become a foster parent for his younger brother. Now, I had a very conservative Christian upbringing, so I had to like kind of like put in the back burner what was my upbringing was, because I didn't want to conflict with actually doing an objective appraisal whether or not this individual is capable of becoming a foster parent, regarding regardless of the sexual orientation. So I had to like do a little soul searching, and I had to ask questions because I didn't want my Christian upbringing to automatically disqualify a person just because he has a different sexual orientation than I had. And actually, had he complied with everything he needed to do to become a foster parent, I would not have no problem certifying him as such.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And to be honest with you, this is a subject that, like I said, it's going to bring different aspects into play simply because there's a lot of people that are not healed from this trauma. It's a traumatic experience to go through certain things. I've seen a lot of parents, a lot mess up their kids and their path simply because they want to control them, or because they are trying to keep them safe from failure. They're trying to keep them coddled and cushioned and comfortable, when in reality, that's not the way to go. That's just not the way to go.
Mhm.
But let's hear from what Rakim was saying. Go ahead, Rakim.
And also, I just wanted to clarify one thing else to piggyback off of what you said, Denise. You even have some parents that are bitter because of the way their lives turned out, and some parents, as sick as it may sound, purposely want their children to fail,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is something that a lot of people don't really cover or speak about
Mhm.
within our communities. And
Yeah.
it's very important to, once you realize that what your parents have taught you is not, within your best interest. Sometimes it's best to, of course, you always love your parents, but it's best to distance yourself for a time being until you're able to put yourself in a position where you are financially secure by competing uh, with getting your education and trying to compete with, trying to get, a decent career choice and build a business. And then, after you have everything established, of course, you want to, of course, reach back with your parents, spend time with them. But on your road to trying to build success, their mind state and their thought process could hinder you, because you'll find yourself falling back into those old ways that you originally learned, and which can be challenging when you're trying to learn, um, you know, when you're trying to learn different ways on the way other groups are operating, so you can be competitive.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because a lot of things that we're seeing today with the complaining and people creating all these crazy programs to coddle people, I realize that, the government has become the parents that many people, had or want to have. Because now this is a career for a lot of people. Welfare has become a career for a lot of people. Okay, let's just put that out there. And we have said many times that this is not a sustainable society simply because we have way too many prostitutes, way too many gangbangers, way too many people on welfare, way too many baby mamas, and in reality, it goes back to the whole, how we're being prepped, and also how much responsibility we're acquiring or owning for our own decisions. And like I said, after 18 years old, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't care about what your parents did. And the world doesn't, to be honest with you, because they're not supposed to.
Damn, 18
And
though?
come ahead.
18 though? You can't
18.
give him like a buffer period though, like at least
No,
22.
no, I'm
Damn,
gonna
like,
I'm gonna tell you why.
they
At
still
age
in high
6,
school at 18. Some of them.
no. Look at this. At 13 years old, I got my first job. Okay, so I've seen with my own eyes, the Americanized notion of teenage years. If we look back to at least in Latin America, of course, if you go back to native civilizations and indigenous civilizations, at age 5, men were already, and little boys were already learning how to plant, build, and work at 5 years old. And that's what made the Mayans inclusive, one of the most advanced civilizations. And the notion of teenage years that you're supposed to just waste that age where you have the most energy and the most thirst for knowledge into stupid shit, that is from ages 10, when your character is completely formed according to psychology. Your character is completely formed at age 10. From age 10 and age 18, your parents are supposed to shift between coddling you and teaching you stuff and correcting things to actually making you execute. So that by the time you're 18, even though you're going to have some traumas and a lot of stuff, you have actually a structure and the discipline to deal with a lot of things because you're walking into adulthood. So no, the notion of teenage years, I thank my parents for putting me to work and forcing me to do all these things and teaching me the discipline to do things on my own and learning how to do things around the house, learning how to do things with my money, learning how to do things with my voice, with my hands and whatnot. So this is what's creating softer individuals, is because there's a notion that teenage years are supposed to be for fun. No, they're supposed to be for work and grooming. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I'm talking about. I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree, but I think you cannot expect an individual to just shift their mindset right from what they were trained their whole life to, right, to being a different person. Essentially, you want them to deprogram themselves and then reprogram themselves for something new. But then they got to go out and find the information on their own. I think there has to be some kind of buffer period, in my
No,
opinion, right?
no,
Because
that the buffer is the teenage years.
but
Look,
my thing is this: that's not happening. I get what you're saying, right? But what I'm getting at is that that's not happening. So you take a teenager right now, 18 years old, who's grown up in unidealistic situation, right? You cannot then expect said teenager at 18 to understand and know what to do, right?
no, they're not supposed to.
Yeah, so that's my point. That's why I said they need a buffer period, because they have to have some time to really understand what path to take, right?
But
Because
a buffer period to do what?
to figure it out,
To figure out what?
figure out what life is about, what they have to do with their life, the path that they got to take. Because you got to understand this, right? As because I had to do this at 16 and then 17 and then 18, right? I was on my own since 16. So, but I've been doing this since I was 12 or 13 years old. My mother told me, right? But I'm different. A lot of people are not self-aware. Most people are not self-aware. Most people don't understand why they do the things that they do. Most people can't look at the situation that they're in. I still know dudes today that I never be like, yeah, nah, I wasn't abused. And then they tell me about the beatings they used to get. I'm like, dude, you were abused as a child. Like, what are you talking about? That's abuse. That's not a whipping. That's abuse. And they're like, nah, that's my mother, or she loves me. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever you say. So most people are just naive, right? So that's why I say there needs. I believe everyone should join the military. I believe that would really help. But um, I think you kind of need some type of, buffer, because if you go out, let's say you take a kid 18 fresh out of high school, you be like, you on your own. That motherfucker's gonna fail, right?
And
Or they're gonna.
that's what they're supposed to do. Let me tell you something. No matter how much preparation you have, either at 18 or 25, when I moved here, I failed just by landing here with $500. But that's what we need. We can't. That's what I'm saying with the American notion. You're supposed to fail. When birds are throwing the little babies to fly, they're supposed to do that. They don't do it. They're like, oh, let me see if your muscles, are really tough for you to endure this. They throw the little birds so that they can actually fail, go down, dive, and then go back up. The same with polar bears. When polar bears migrate during the summertime, they don't wait for the little bears to actually make it. The father goes first to find some ice, and the mother takes the kids after a while. And she doesn't have the time to actually rescue the children. Whether you're ready or not, you're making this trip, because if she stops, everybody else dies. So that if animals can do that and understand that that is the way the world functions, and that's what creates actually sustainable individuals, we have to learn from that, because we're doing a worse job.
I don't know. I don't know if I could get. I don't know if I could co-sign that.
No,
I wanna
that
speak.
is the age,
Um,
especially since at
Okay.
18, the odds of you paying mortgage and rent are very low. You're going to be with your parents. You want to fail while you still have the covering from your parents.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that.
So at 18 is the perfect age for you to actually put your kids out there to start failing.
No, put them out the house or put
No,
them
no,
out in
no,
the
no, no.
world.
Put them out in the world so
Oh,
they can
okay,
start
okay.
failing.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
have to
yeah.
fail at it. And you
Yeah, I
have to
agree.
watch them, because when they come back home from those failures, you have to then teach them how to deal with frustration.
I agree. I agree with that.
uh,
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes
Denise,
sense.
I would like to use an analogy. If you're talking about, say, baseball, okay, the great hitters, okay, the greatest hitters in baseball, they only manage to get a hit about 30% of the time,
Mhm.
okay? And we're talking about, it's like, let's say you go up to the plate, say, 600 times. Now think about it. If you're a good hitter, you're going to succeed only 30% of the time. But yet we have people in the Hall of Fame hitting only 30, getting hits 30% of the time. So maybe if you use that analogy, it makes it a little easier to accept the fact that we're going to fail more often to succeed. But what we're going to do is we're going to learn from the failure, so therefore we can do better.
Failure is the path to perfecting something.
Yeah, but here's my thing though, right? I don't want to be. I'm trying to be nice these days. Most people are failures.
Let it out. This
Most
is not a
people are
political correct channel. You can say whatever you want.
most people are failing right now, right?
Mhm.
But they think in their mind that they're doing well, right?
Okay?
Yeah.
So to say failure is the path of success, it's like, yeah, to a degree, because I know people that just won't stop failing, but they never really learn from their mistake. They continue to repeat and repeat and repeat. That's most people. I think it's not the norm to see people fail and then learn from their mistakes, right? I think it's the norm to see people fail and continue to fail and be like, I don't know why I'm failing. The system is rigged. What can we do? It's like, ugh, it's like, it's so clear. And then you give them the answer to why they're failing. They'll be like, yo, you're judging me. Why are you judging me? I'm just on my journey, right? It's like that's the norm. At least I see from my experience. I could be wrong, but I just believe that most people do fail, right? In life.
Yeah, but it goes back to the same notion. Look, I'm gonna explain it like this for the people in the chat. I see that Smoothie is like, back in the day, you didn't leave home until you got married. I said people got married in the past at age 23 at the latest.
Yeah, that's women though. Men left the home before then.
Now, one thing I would say is I'm gonna explain something. When I was in my teen years, I learned how to drive at 13, right? Because my parents believe, in case of an emergency, if something were to happen to us, the kids need to learn how to drive, because who's going to drive us to the hospital? The ambulance is never going to show up. So, I used to race and take a lot of risk, and there is nothing. I came here without knowing anything, and I'm able to travel and do road trips. And for people that don't understand how different this is, living in an island and driving an island is completely different than here in the States, okay? So for you to be able to transition into that, you have to be very comfortable in that skill. And that tends to happen when you start mastering that skill from a very young age. So if you have your kids, for example, let's say when you see athletes starting to train, do they start training at 35 or they start training at age of 5, 11, 15? You see them at an early age simply because when you're a teenager, because you don't have the wear and tear of life, you haven't experienced that yet, you have less fear. You're more fearless. It isn't until you start feeling the wear and tear of life that you start then becoming, this person with all these fears and anxieties, because you have experienced certain things that are negative. So of course, you want your kids to start going through these things. The younger, the better, because you want them to be comfortable with the concept of failure. You want them to have and become knowledgeable and familiar with the sense of, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me ask questions. Let me just, work myself up from here. And more often than not, we see parents at that age just letting kids run free. Oh, they're young, they have time. Now is your time to have fun. Enjoy these years. They don't come back. Go have fun with your friends. And if you notice, it is on our teenage years that we tend to start rebelling, escaping the house or going to parties or doing stuff, simply because at that age you already have the need. It's our human nature. You have the need to have your own sense of authority over yourself in the way you handle yourself. So why not replacing the partying and the stupidity with a path to actually start becoming more knowledgeable about what you want to do and how life actually works, especially in the financial aspect. Anyway, guys, I see that. Okay, no, he left. But guys, look, like I said, today is not. I don't do these shows to shame people or whatnot. It's just to share my opinion on what I believe is an issue, and it's something that is fixable. So I know some people are gonna get triggered, like I've said before, but take it however you want. But I would say to whoever is listening to me that is still from ages 18 to 34, divorce your parents. It's time for you to do your own thing. Failure is good. You need it. You need it because otherwise you wouldn't learn from anything. So it's something that if you can take something from, you cannot take anything else from this stream, at least take that piece with you. Don't think about it too much. Don't hesitate. Just go with what you think is right. And if you fail, fuck it, you failed. Try again. Now I'm going to let everybody start with their closing statements. Jose, what are your final thoughts on today's stream?
As always, Denise, I thank you for allowing me to be part of the stream. And as always, you provide very solid information to think about. Guys, it's always a pleasure to hear from you. And the fact of the matter is, there's nothing wrong with failure. As long as you are able to take an honest look and see where you fail to do better the next time. The worst thing is to fail and not to learn from your failure. Um, I'm going to close the same way that I close again, which is the following. People, please be careful out there because we have a thing called C-19, which the cases are going up through the roof in some places. And we have mentally and intellectually challenged people who are growing exponentially. And if we're not careful, we're going to get infected by their stupidity. And then we'll be starting to talk with them. And then our brain cells will start to die.
Definitely, Jose. Thank you very much. I'm gonna put you backstage. Lord Hokage, final thoughts on today's topic.
I would say failure is good. Document your journey on whatever you're going through so that you can look back later on and see where you made a mistake at if you do fail. And don't be afraid to look stupid or feel dumb and ask questions if you don't know something. That's the only way you're going to get the information. All right. That's it.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you very much, Lord Hokage. I'm gonna put you backstage with Jose. Now, Rakim, final thoughts on today's topic.
Final thoughts on today's topic. Once again, a very interesting topic and a subject matter that need to be spoken upon. Thank you once again, Denise, for allowing me on your platform. And my final thoughts is that the younger that you start with your children and pay close attention to your children, the better. Because one thing that people fail to understand is that if you do not try to raise your children in a proper way, if you do not try to help your children in a proper way, or you happen just to forget what it's like to be a child because you spent so many years being an adult, then your children will definitely get the wrong influences. It's a lot of parents out here that are the wrong influence on their child, and their child grows up to be unproductive members of society. There's even situations where children become very enraged with their parents because they realize what their parents taught them was useless when it comes to dealing with the competitiveness and the raw nature of society when they get out into the savage jungle that we call the world. So, as for people that realize that, what your parents have taught you is not conducive to you progressing, it's important to educate yourself. If your parents have negative energy, it's important to try to stay away from that as much as possible and just try to learn as much as you can. Like you just said recently, earlier in the stream, audiobooks, um, hardback books, whatever knowledge that you can obtain in order so you can be able to counteract, a predator that may be more knowledgeable than you that want to use your ignorance against you to be able to capitalize on their own financial gain. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you very much, Rakim. Definitely, my closing statements will be parents, if you guys are listening, you guys are parents. I know, I'm not a parent. But I would say, start with your kids, like Rakim said before, very early, and start giving them responsibilities. In their toddler years, start giving them responsibilities about themselves, even though they only can do like throw the clothes in the hamper or, put their play on the sink and whatnot. That's how you start grooming your kid for, being responsible for themselves at a very young age. And the earlier you start with the whole, introducing them to finances and not waiting for the public education system to make them aware of what they need to do, the better. That's the best you can aim so that you can rest in peace because you're not eternal. Now, before I leave, I want to thank everybody who liked the stream yesterday of No Bullshit. And as promised, guys, we're going to reveal who's going to be sitting in the hot seat this next Wednesday. So you guys have seen it. The hot seat will welcome its second guest, and it's not nobody else than the one, the only, the infamous the hated, the love, melanated night, the love of my life. So definitely, guys, you wanna check it out. Make sure you like and subscribe this to this video and also to this channel and also to No Bullshit. Okay, you guys do not want to miss when melanated night turn to sit in the hot seat and answer our questions truthfully, no matter what they are. It's coming this Wednesday, and trust me, we're not going to be as lenient as we were with the radical Latino. Okay, before I leave, I want to remind you guys to follow me on Instagram, denise.gonzalez.bjgas1, so that you guys can keep up with what I'm doing and also things that are happening with Latinos all over the world. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. It has been a pleasure. I hope the rest of your week brings you a lot of success, a lot of productivity, a lot of action. Let's put in the work. Let's flex our social muscles with some safety, okay? And actually have a good time. I'll catch you guys Wednesday on No Bullshit and Thursday back here in Latin Splaining. My name is Denise Gonzalez, and this has been another episode of Latin Splaining with Denise, all about business and finances. Thank you guys. Peace.